I don't remember the first thing she said, only the sound of it. Low, calm, like someone who didn't rush to fill silence because she knew it would wait for her. She was standing by the counter when I walked in, sorting through a stack of papers with one hand, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face with the other. The room smelled faintly of coffee and rain-soaked air, the kind that makes everything feel cleaner, closer. Her sleeve slipped down just enough to reveal the curve of her wrist, the soft pulse beneath it, small, ordinary details that somehow made breathing feel heavier. I'd met her before, just once, but that evening felt different. Maybe because she smiled at me longer than before, or maybe because I noticed how tired her eyes were behind that practiced calm. "Long day?" I asked, pretending not to stare at the way her fingers traced the rim of her mug. "You could say that," she said. "Though I suppose they're all long now." She smiled then, the kind that doesn't reach the eyes but still feels like an invitation. I should have looked away. I didn't. The silence between us stretched, not uncomfortable, but alive. I could hear the faint hum of the old ceiling fan, the rain against the glass, her steady breathing. She turned slightly, close enough that her perfume, subtle, warm, something with vanilla and cedar, caught the air between us. It wasn't that she was beautiful in the way people usually mean it. It was something quieter, a stillness that made me want to listen. She passed me a file, her hand brushing mine for the briefest second. Just a touch, but it changed everything. Her fingers were cool, delicate, a little hesitant. My pulse jumped so suddenly I almost dropped the papers. "Sorry," I muttered. Her lips curved barely. "You don't need to apologize for having hands." That should have made me laugh. It didn't. The way she said it, soft, amused, just a hint of something unspoken, made me want to know what she wasn't saying. I tried to keep my focus on the file, but my eyes kept finding her reflection in the window, her profile against the soft light, the way she tilted her head when she was thinking. "Do you always look this serious when you work?" she asked. "Only when someone's watching." Her gaze lifted. For a moment, she didn't look away. There was no teasing smile this time, only a quiet, searching look that made the air between us feel thinner. I don't know who moved first, maybe either of us did. Maybe it was just gravity, or something older than that. But when our hands met again, not by accident this time, it was slower, deliberate. Her fingers hesitated, then stayed. Something flickered across her face, a question, maybe, or a warning. The rain outside softened, like even it was holding its breath. I could feel the faint tremor of her pulse under my thumb, and for a moment I forgot where I was, who I was supposed to be. Then a voice from the hallway. A knock on the open door. "Excuse me." She pulled her hand back, quick and careful, eyes shifting to the papers as if they'd betrayed her. I turned, half expecting the interruption to fade, but when I looked back, her chair was already empty, her coffee untouched, her scent still lingering in the air. And just like that, the moment was gone, but it stayed inside me, humming, like static that refused to fade. The next time I saw her, she was sitting by the window, her hair pinned up loosely, a few strands falling against her neck. Morning light filtered through the blinds, soft and uneven, catching on the edge of her collarbone. She didn't see me at first, or maybe she pretended not to. I stood there longer than I should have, watching how still she was, how the quiet around her seemed to hold its own kind of gravity. When she finally looked up, her expression shifted just slightly, surprise, then restraint. "You're early," she said. "I didn't sleep much." She smiled, faint but knowing. "That happens when something's on your mind." I wanted to ask if it happened to her too, if she'd thought about that moment between us the way I had, but the question never made it past my throat. Instead, I crossed the room, careful not to step too close. "You were working late again?" "I always do," she said, eyes still on the window. "Keeps the house from feeling too empty." The words hung there, heavy. She said them casually, but something in her tone, quiet, flat, told me more than she meant to. I'd heard things from others, her divorce years ago, the son away at college, the long stretches of quiet that filled her evenings. Loneliness wears many faces. Hers wore confidence. You don't like empty spaces? I asked softly. She hesitated. No. I just prefer when there's a reason to keep the lights on. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The light shifted again, sliding across her hand resting on the desk. I noticed the fine lines along her knuckles, the way her ring finger was bare, the soft movement of her wrist when she turned a page. She looked up. You stare too much. I don't mean to. I know. Her voice was gentler now, like she wasn't sure whether to warn me or forgive me. You're too young to be this serious. Maybe I just see things I'm not supposed to. That made her pause. She leaned back, studying me with quiet curiosity, or maybe it was caution. You shouldn't, she said finally. People talk. I don't care what they say. She laughed under her breath, a tired, almost sad sound. You will. Eventually. But she didn't step away. When I moved closer to hand her a folder, her shoulder brushed mine, just lightly, but it was enough. Her breath caught. I felt it, faint and warm against my skin. The space between us shrank until every sound, the ticking clock, the faint hum of the air conditioner, faded into something distant. She didn't move. Neither did I. Then, as if realizing the weight of what hadn't been said, she straightened, her tone returning to its practiced calm. Thank you, she murmured, taking the folder, her fingers grazing my wrist again, deliberate this time. I didn't answer. I just met her eyes. For a second, one long, dangerous second, neither of us pretended anymore. And in that stillness I knew, whatever this was, it wasn't going away. The afternoon stretched longer than it should have. She was standing by the window again, flipping through notes, sunlight tracing her silhouette, sharp edges softened by dust and light. I told myself to keep my distance this time, to stay professional, to stop reading meaning into every glance. It didn't work. Can you help me with this? She asked, her voice steady but too quiet for the room we were in. I moved beside her, close enough to smell the faint citrus of her perfume, to hear the small catch in her breath when my hand brushed the edge of hers. The table between us was barely wide enough. Our shoulders touched when we both leaned forward to read. Neither of us moved back. Here, she said, pointing to a line in the document, her hand trembling slightly. That's the part one meant. I looked down, but all I saw was the reflection of her wrist in the glass, thin veins, a small scar near the base of her thumb. The kind of thing you notice only when you've already been looking too long. Her voice softened. You're quiet today. I'm trying not to say the wrong thing. She turned her head. Then what's the right one? The question hung between us, low, dangerous. Before I could answer, a sharp knock broke through the silence. Her whole body tensed. Come in, she said quickly, stepping back just enough that our shoulders no longer touched. The door opened. It was her friend, another teacher, cheerful and unsuspecting. Hey, you two still here? We're heading out for coffee. I could feel her pulse shift even from across the room. Oh, we were just finishing up, she said, forcing a light tone that didn't quite reach her eyes. The friend smiled, looked at me briefly, too long, then back at her. You work him too hard. A small laugh escaped her, brittle and quick. He's fine. Aren't you? I nodded, pretending to find something on the desk worth staring at. When the door closed again, the silence came back sharper than before. She exhaled slowly, turning away. We shouldn't stay so late. Probably not. But neither of us moved. The sound of her heels shifted against the floor as she turned toward me again. For the first time, I noticed how her hand gripped the edge of the table, as if it was the only thing keeping her still. People will misunderstand, she whispered. Would they be wrong? Her breath caught. She didn't answer. I took a step closer. The distance between us narrowed until I could feel the warmth of her skin, the faint tremor in her breath. Her eyes flicked up to mine, half a second, maybe less, but it was enough to make every thought in my head scatter. She didn't step away. Her fingers brushed the inside of my wrist again, That same trembling hesitation from the first time, only now it lingered. The room seemed smaller, the air too heavy. Then she looked down, her voice barely a whisper. You should go. I didn't. Not right away. Because when she said it, her hand was still touching mine. It happened on a Friday night, the kind that feels like it shouldn't mean anything, but somehow does. The office was nearly empty, the hum of the lights softer than usual, rain whispering against the windows again like it had been waiting for us to return. She was packing her things, hair falling loose around her shoulders, the collar of her blouse slightly open from the long day. I told myself I'd just say goodnight and leave. I even made it halfway to the door before her voice stopped me. You've been avoiding me, she said quietly. I turned. You noticed. I notice everything. She didn't smile when she said it, not this time. Her hands were still busy, stacking papers she didn't need to touch. I thought it'd make things easier, I said. Has it? I didn't answer. The truth was in the way my chest tightened every time she looked at me, in the ache that followed every polite goodbye. She sighed, sitting on the edge of the desk, facing me. You think this is simple for me? Her tone wasn't sharp, it was something closer to weary. Like she'd been holding her breath for too long. I know it's not, I said. But you keep pretending it is. That made her look up, really look. The room went still. What do you want from me? She asked. The question felt like a challenge and a plea all at once. I don't know, I said, stepping closer. Maybe I just want to stop pretending that every time you touch me, I don't feel like. She stood before I could finish, closing the distance between us so quickly the air shifted. Her perfume, warm, familiar, human, filled the space between us. Don't, she whispered, but it sounded more like please. I reached up, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Her eyes closed, not because she wanted to, but because she couldn't help it. My fingers lingered near her jaw, the softest touch, and when she opened her eyes again, I could see it, the same want, the same fear. This can't happen, she said. Then why are you still standing here? Her breath trembled. I could feel the warmth of it on my neck now, the nearness unbearable. Because, she said, her voice cracking, you make me forget how old I am. I swallowed hard. You make me forget I'm supposed to care. Her hand found my chest, not to push me away, but to steady herself. For a heartbeat, either of us moved. Her thumb brushed against my collarbone, her gaze flicking to my mouth and back again. Every rule, every line between us, blurred into nothing. Then, a vibration broke through the quiet. Her phone. The name on the screen lit up, flashing in the half-dark. She froze. The moment shattered, suspended but not gone. We both looked at the phone. Neither of us reached for it. Her voice came out low, unsteady. If I answer, this ends? I leaned in, close enough that my whisper barely escaped. Then don't. She didn't answer the phone that night. But she didn't turn it off either. It kept lighting up on the desk, again and again, until finally she said, without looking at me, "It's my ex-husband." The words came out too calmly, like she'd practiced them before. I stayed still. Does he still call often? Only when he wants something, she said, her hand tightening around the edge of the desk. He thinks if he keeps reminding me of the past, I'll forget why I left. Her voice cracked on the last word. She turned away, brushing her hair from her face, pretending it was nothing. But the tremor in her shoulders gave her away. He found out you're here late, she continued. He asked who with. The air thinned between us. And what did you tell him? That it's work, she said, a bitter smile ghosting across her lips. He doesn't believe me. I took a step closer, my chest tightening. Is he watching you? Maybe. He still knows how to make me feel small. I wanted to touch her, to tell her he didn't get to do that anymore, but something in her stillness warned me not to. She wasn't afraid of him. She was afraid of what this made her look like. You shouldn't have to hide, I said softly. She turned then, eyes sharp with something between anger and longing. You think I want to? You think I don't wake up wondering what people will say if they ever see us like this? Her voice shook, her hands trembling now, one clutching the back of the chair. You don't understand what it costs me just to be near you. Then why are you? She exhaled hard, half a laugh, half a confession. Because I can't not be. The silence that followed was heavy, but not empty. I moved closer, slow enough for her to stop me if she wanted to. She didn't. When I reached for her hand, she let me take it, her fingers cold, tense, caught between resistance and relief. I shouldn't have let this happen, she whispered. But you did. Her eyes glistened. Because I wanted to know what it felt like to be wanted again. The truth hit harder than I expected, raw, unguarded. She looked suddenly younger, fragile in a way I'd never seen. I brushed my thumb across her knuckles, feeling her pulse beneath. You still are, I said. She shook her head, stepping back, not to escape, but to keep from falling further. If anyone finds out, they won't. You can't promise that. No, I said, closing the distance once more, my voice low. But I can promise I won't let go first. Her breath caught, her lips parting just slightly, not from surprise but surrender. Then, from the hallway, the sound of footsteps, quick, approaching. She froze. Our hands slipped apart, but not before her fingers brushed mine one last time. Go, she whispered. Before they see you. I hesitated. And you? She looked at me then, not afraid, not ashamed, just heartbreakingly real. I'll handle it, she said. But this changes everything. She didn't come in the next day. Her absence felt heavier than silence, like the space she usually filled had become something you could trip over. The empty desk, the untouched mug, even the chair turned slightly to the left, everything about it looked like a question she'd left behind. By evening, I couldn't stand it anymore. I found myself outside her house, rain still hanging in the air from earlier, the kind that left the world muted and soft. Her porch light was on. I didn't plan what I'd say. I just knew if I didn't see her, something would stay unfinished inside me. When she opened the door, her surprise flickered into something else, relief, maybe, or exhaustion. She looked different in the dim light, hair down, sleeves rolled up, no pretense left. You shouldn't be here, she said. I know. Then why are you? I hesitated. Because you didn't come in. And because I can't pretend that what's happening between us doesn't matter. Her eyes softened, but she still shook her head. It's not that simple. It never is, I said quietly. But it's real. She turned away, arms crossed, as if holding herself together. Do you know what people would say? What they'd think of me? I don't care about them, I said. I care about you. That made her pause. Her breath hitched, just slightly. You shouldn't. I stepped closer, careful but certain. Then tell me to stop. She didn't. The air between us changed again, denser, charged, alive. I could feel the heat from her skin, the tremor in her breath, as I stopped just inches away. Her eyes searched mine, desperate for a reason to step back, to stay safe. Instead, she whispered, You don't know what you're asking for. Yes, I do. I reached up, brushing a raindrop from her cheek. She didn't move, didn't blink. My hand lingered near her jaw, my thumb catching the corner of her mouth. The quiet stretched until it was unbearable. Tell me this isn't what you want, I said. Her voice came out barely audible. It's everything I want. That's the problem. Something in me broke open then, not from desire, but from the weight of everything she wasn't saying. I stepped closer until our foreheads nearly touched, until I could feel her breath trembling against mine. This can't last, she whispered. Then let it be real while it does. For a long, suspended second, either of us moved. The world outside went still, no rain, no sound, just the pulse of her heartbeat pressed against me. Then, slowly, she leaned in, not quite a kiss, not yet, just a closeness that erased every reason, every rule. Her fingers found my collar, her voice a whisper against my skin. If I don't stop now, I never will. Then don't. I breathed. She closed her eyes. And for the first time, she didn't pull away. Morning came quietly, gray light stretching through the curtains, soft and slow. I woke before she did. For a moment, I didn't move, afraid that even the sound of breathing might break what had settled between us. She was curled against me, her hand resting just above my heart, fingers loose, trusting. The night hadn't been about crossing a line. It had been about finding a truth we could no longer ignore. When she finally stirred, she didn't speak right away. She just stayed there, eyes half open, watching the light shift across the ceiling. I didn't think I'd sleep, she murmured. You did, I said. You even talked in your sleep. Her lips curved into a faint smile. What did I say? That you should have stopped me. She laughed under her breath, soft and broken. I should have. But you didn't. No, she said, her voice quieter now. And I don't regret it. That silence, that small, unguarded honesty, filled the room more than any confession could. For the first time, she looked at me without that cautious distance, without the wall she'd built to protect herself from wanting too much. There was no performance left, just her. A woman who'd spent too many years choosing safety over feeling. I brushed a strand of hair from her face, my thumb tracing the edge of her jaw. Are you afraid? Of what? Of what comes next? She hesitated, eyes meeting mine. Maybe a little. But I'm more afraid of pretending this didn't happen. I smiled, not out of triumph, but relief. Then don't pretend. She shifted closer, resting her forehead against mine. You make things sound easy. They're not, I said. But they can still be right. Her hand found mine, fingers intertwining slowly, no hesitation this time. There was nothing rushed about it, nothing desperate. Just the quiet understanding that some things don't need to be explained. For a while, we just sat there, watching the morning unfold. The air smelled faintly of rain again, soft and familiar. I used to think love was supposed to fade, she said. That after a certain age it just stops belonging to you. And now? She looked at me, eyes warm, certain. Now I think it just changes shape. It doesn't ask for permission anymore. I kissed her forehead, slow, lingering, the kind of kiss that says I'm here, not I own you. She smiled into it. You'll get tired of me someday. I shook my head. No. I'll just learn you better. We sat in silence after that, the comfortable kind. The world outside was waking up, but in that room, time felt suspended, the two of us caught somewhere between what we feared and what we finally allowed ourselves to feel. Her fingers tightened around mine once more. So, she whispered, almost teasing, what happens now? Now, I said, we stop pretending we don't already know. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?